The views and opinions expressed on Real Talk with Horace Sheffield are not those of WADL TV 38 or Adele Broadcasting Corporation.
Giving you real talk, real talk, real talk. Take a walk down this path through Detroit, Detroit. This is real talk, real talk, real talk. Real issues straight from the heart. Giving you real talk, real talk, real talk. Take a walk down this path through Detroit, Detroit. This is real talk, real talk, real talk.
Welcome to On the Line with Reverend Sheffield. This is just a tremendous opportunity, one that I'm certain I would cherish and put in my archives, to have the opportunity to have my only daughter, my baby, Mary Christine Sheffield, President Pro Tem of Detroit City Council, on our show. Welcome to the show, Mary.
Thank you, Dad, for having me.
Absolutely. And there's no secret in this community that I will kill somebody for messing with my daughter. I've had to learn to allow you the room you need to do things and not get involved. But I've always been one, not only for you, but for my son, to come to the defense and aid of my children. That's just what I do. I want to start with my dad. We're here in the Sheffield Center. We've expanded it to the Sheffield Center complex. You spoke at the dedication. And I have this wonderful picture here. My camera guy can zoom in for a moment. That's my dad at 78 years of age, looking just spiffer and handsome. And that's, of course, Mary Christine, his only granddaughter. Just tell me, what do you think and feel about your grandfather and the work that he did in this town?
Well, I think the older I get and the more I'm exposed to just the struggle of everyday working class people throughout the city of Detroit, I appreciate my grandfather's work that he did throughout the city and really throughout the country. And I'm just blessed to be a part of such a rich legacy like my grandfather, who instilled values in you that passed down to me. And really, I think, ignited a sense of passion and desire to want social justice and change throughout the city of Detroit.
Well, one thing you need to know, his archives, and I'll share with you, when Mariani was mayor, he and Van Antwerp met with my dad and Buddy and all of those people, because African Americans were being visited with terror by the Big Four and police brutality. And in my dad's archives, I guess either Van Antwerp or Mariani said, that's what we do to niggas. And they went back and formed a 5+1 ticket, 5 liberal council members and 1 liberal mayor, and that was Jerome Kavanaugh. So this is my dad again with Dr. King and and Walter Reuther, very close to, of course, the King family. And I just want to bring that in the context that he had really international and national appeal. I was in Helsinki, Finland, at a student conference back in 1980, and some white trade unionists from Helsinki came up to me and asked me, was I the son of Horace Sheffield Jr.? So anyway, let's talk about him in the context of what African Americans fought for in this town, which was inclusion, which was making certain that the city government provided access to services and things. Where are we right now? I mean, I know you've been a big fighter in terms of tax foreclosure and the overpayment of taxes. Where are we in relationship to that struggle that my dad would have been a part of?
I think we're still at similar points. Unfortunately, I think with the revitalization happening in the city of Detroit, we still have significant issues that we have to address with generational Detroiters. And we put a lot of attention on attracting residents to Detroit and growing the population, but I think sometimes we neglect to invest and protect those who have been here, those who have endured the good and the bad. And so we have a unique opportunity, I believe, in Detroit to funnel some of the private philanthropic money that we're seeing, some of the revitalization, to help raise Detroiters out of poverty, essentially. And so I think we have a unique opportunity, and I'm glad to be a part of the voice that can help shape and change the future of it.
That raises an issue. I was a part of Michael Harrington's Other America. You might want to look him up. The whole democratic socialist or democratic agenda. He gave great credence to the notion that there was tremendous poverty and the government really neglected that. So I guess what I'm saying to you is, in this era in which we live in Detroit, we see so much money for tax breaks and redevelopment. I mean, do you think there's equity in terms of our city budget for the things you're talking about? People on Dexter and Cottingwood, where I grew up, who've been paying taxes for 50 years. 50 years. Some of those taxes overtaxed. What are we doing for those people?
So we're not doing enough. That's the problem. And I think that, and I'm starting to learn that you do need to incentivize development. There's a portion of money that should be allocated to incentivize development, but there has to be an equal focus on helping and supporting those who've been here. Right. And I don't think that we have prioritized enough those Detroiters. And so we can do more. Things like home repair grants, that should be funded at its highest point. Helping individuals with foreclosure prevention, things of that sort. We have to just prioritize it and make sure that we're intentional about addressing those issues.
Yep. Because I travel a lot like you do, and sometimes I think I'm going to Nassau, Bahamas when I land in Detroit, because it looks like the Atlantic Ocean with so many blue tarps. And we have people who can't put a roof on their homes who've been paying taxes for 30 years. Is it part of the design, the master plan, to allow those neighborhoods to decline and decay and force people out? I just don't understand how we don't find the money. What used to be a grant program is now a loan program. You have to be credit worthy. I mean, who is it down there beside you that really is championing the cause of these kind of things for people who've been here forever?
I mean, I wouldn't say I'm the only one. There are other people who support and believe in the need to fund those programs. But I think it all goes back to the importance of leadership and who really drives a lot of the decision making in the city of Detroit. And we have a heavily focused and strong form of government that falls towards the mayor's office. He really implements a lot of what we see in the city of Detroit. And I think that oftentimes his priorities are too focused on business and incentivizing, again, revitalization of Detroit through attracting residents, not investing in city.
Well, that's kind of our fault, too, don't you think? I mean, the mayor would answer to whoever has the juice. And the juice doesn't mean you have the money. It means you have a voice, you've organized people. Let's get to this whole issue of people being overtaxed. I think mine was to the tune of about $4,000 or $5,000. I was a little dismayed that the mayor's original response was get over it, basically. No empathy or sympathy or saying, you know what, we need to figure out a way how to do this. First of all, who's responsible for what occurred there? Was that really pre-Duggan, or was some of that also under his administration, and how much of it did he know?
I think it was both. I think it was pre, and from my understanding, the research is still showing that the lowest value homes to this day are still being overassessed. So it still falls on the mayor's responsibility as well, too, to fix the issue. So I think it's both. There was a state-mandated reappraisal of all properties that did happen under his administration.
2017?
That was in 2017 that happened. But again, I agree with you. I think that his response was not sensitive to the residents in the city of Detroit. It was insensitive, I should say. And, my office, along with a lot of grassroots organizations, proposed a list of options that Detroiters could choose from to address the issue of overassessment.
One of which includes that those parcels are in the land bank, giving people's homes back and maybe some money to fix them up. Well, I'm a little bit different because, I moved, as you know, from Palmer Woods University District, and my taxes were inordinately high, and after a while, I began to go down and appeal my tax assessment. A lot of people didn't do that. But so what are the range of things that you propose to compensate people for being overtaxed, and what's presently in place?
So unfortunately, this COVID-19 has really put a pause on a lot of the discussions regarding how do we compensate residents for the overtaxation. But I propose simple things. Whatever the amount that you were overtaxed, you receive a credit on your tax bill moving forward. Yep. We propose getting homes through the Detroit Land Bank Authority if your home was lost because of tax foreclosure. We propose home repair grants for individuals to fix their homes. I mean, there's a list of options that can be presented to residents so that they can choose what's best for them.
So how much of this issue became more prevalent because people in Green Acres and Palmer Woods University District discovered that they were overtaxed? Do you think, let's be honest, do you think that if it was only Canfield and Mack or places like that, this would not even be an issue?
I will say that for at least 3 years, I've known about it. And there's been a lot of organizations that have been pounding the pavement, raising this issue with the administration about overtaxation. And it wasn't until that Detroit Free Press report or Detroit News report where it kind of just blew up. And so it's unfortunate, but, it's been going on for quite some time now.
So we're going to have another segment in a moment. We're going to talk about census. We're going to talk about, things that you've been doing to make the city better. One of the things, if I wasn't your dad, I would still say this, that I like about what you do is you don't curse the darkness, you light a match. There are a lot of folks who have issues with stuff They call talk radio. They have a problem with this problem. Okay, well, how do you solve it? I mean, it's far more effort and energy and brain power trying to figure out how to overcome this. How do you see this city in the next 10 years? Are the long-term residents who were exploited by insurance rates, inordinate crime, lack of city services, some of which still occurs, like this area in 48204, one of the most underlooked or non-served areas. Do you think some of that's going to change?
Yeah, I really believe that it will, and that it can. I am encouraged by the amount of organizations and individuals that I see are becoming more conscious and involved in city government and actually putting pressure, not just on council, but the mayor's office to implement these changes in their community. And so I believe that every neighborhood, every zip code, no matter who you are, depending on your race or income, has an opportunity and access into New Detroit. But it's going to take, honestly, us coming together, us mobilizing, us demanding what we want in our communities, and I believe that it will happen, and it can happen.
While we get ready to take the break, tell people how they can reach you. I know that people are working from home, but how do people reach President Pro Tem Mary Sheffield?
So individuals can reach my office at 313-224-4505, and they can email the office as well at councilmembersheffield@detroitmi.gov.
One more time.
The office number is 313-224-4505, and they can email at councilmembersheffield@detroitmi.gov.
When we come back, we're going to talk presidential politics. She was thrust on the national scene. You find her on Fox News. People all over the world that know me, is that your daughter? As if I could not be responsible for something this smart. We'll be right back after this.
Hello, Detroit. I am City Council President Pro Tem Mary Sheffield. And I want all of you all to know that during these very difficult times, my heart, my prayer, and my thoughts are with you all. I want to extend my condolences to anyone who has lost a family member, a friend, or a loved one to COVID-19. I also want to encourage and motivate and uplift individuals that are battling with this virus, who have symptoms, to let you know that there is a community of people here that are pulling for your full and speedy recovery. I believe that this virus and these challenging times have let us know that all of our destinies are infinitely tied together, and that it takes each and every one of us to pull through this and make it to the other side. These trying times have also taught us that we live in the midst of real life heroes. People who deserve our respect, our gratitude, and most importantly, our support. Individuals like our first responders, our healthcare professionals, our bus drivers, our grocery store employees, all of the employees that are still working during this crisis because they are deemed essential services. I just want you to know that we thank you for your selfless service to the residents here in the city of Detroit. And so I want all of us to take this very seriously, and please adhere to the guidelines and recommendations on social distancing. I know that we as a city will get through this together. And if we play our parts, we will reduce the spread and we will save lives. And so I just want you to stay positive, to keep your spirits high during this very difficult time. And I know that our spirit, the spirit of Detroit, will not be broken. So I send you love, I send you encouragement, and every single day find hope and positivity because it's still here. God bless you all, and my prayers and thoughts are with you.
This is an important message from the Wayne County Treasurer, Eric Sabri.
Currently, the Wayne County Treasurer's Office is closed to the public. This decision was made in order to mitigate the spread of the coronavirus. We are in total agreement with the Governor's emergency declaration and the efforts of Wayne County leadership to protect the health and safety of our employees and the taxpayers who visit our office. Given the emergency declaration, we have suspended foreclosure activity for the 2020 calendar year. If you have delinquent taxes, they still must be paid. Taxpayers are encouraged to make tax payments by paying online at one of the 70 DivDot kiosks located throughout the county, through the U.S. mail or mobile app. For more information and updates, please visit the Wayne County Treasurer's website at treasurer.waynecounty.com or email us at taxinfo@waynecounty.com. We are all in this together, and we don't know how long this emergency situation will last. I appreciate your patience and cooperation.
All right, we're back with President Pro Tem Mary Sheffield doing great work in the city of Detroit. My daughter, all of our family is certainly proud of her, named after her mother and her grandmother on her mother's side, Mary Christine. I had the full name with my son, Horace Lindsay Sheffield III, but when it came time to name Mary, her mother said, well, you now get the whole name. You get the first name, I get the middle name, and that's how she became Mary Christine Sheffield. Listen, you were thrust on the national scene. Bernie's campaign manager, Nina Turner's a good friend of mine. We've had a couple conversations about you. Some other folks that I know on the national scene, John Lewis, good friend of my dad's, have all said they've taken note of you. Tell me about your endorsement for president. What's that like to now be on Fox News and all those things?
I mean, it feels good. I think the opportunity with Bernie, for me, he just represented a paradigm shift, and he spoke to every issue that I was passionate about: healthcare, affordable housing, criminal justice reform. And so it was just an opportunity for me to hear more about his platform and to lend my voice to change that I believe that he would bring in the country.
So now I was in New York. In fact, that's how I got the coronavirus, visiting with Reverend Sharpton and some of Bloomberg's people with folks from Tulsa to redo the Greenwood Chamber of Commerce where the massacre occurred in 1919. And in that meeting, Rev's mellowed a lot. You know, he's not as mean as he used to be, but he's mellowed a lot. And the first thing he said to me was, you know, I know your daughter been in touch with mine, and man, she's doing a great job. Let's talk a little bit about that relationship with the Sharptons.
Oh my gosh. I remember when, as a little girl, just going around and hanging around Reverend L. Sharpton with you, going to dinners when he was a bigger guy. Yeah. And I always use those remember those times because I think they help shape who I am today. And I think exposure and awareness at a young age like that really helps define who you are. And so I cherish those moments. I just remember you always being around Reverend Sharpton, around social justice work, and so it just really helped shape me to who I am.
All right, so we've got a big thing we've got to do here. One of the reasons I brought you here is to talk about the census. You know, we have a kiosk in the Sheffield Center. We've done door-to-door canvassing. How important is this census? We hear about it politically in terms of, you know, representation, but in terms of the city's budget and how that's going to impact.
So the city of Detroit, a substantial amount of the programs are funded from a federal level.
And by the way, let me just say, I didn't know when I looked at the city's budget, because I called you about some concerns about the budget deficits, only 25-30% of our taxes, money come from taxes. The vast majority comes from somewhere else.
Yeah, from federal funds. Revenue sharing, casino wagering taxes. Yep, those are a major too. Then we have income tax and property taxes, but a lot of our programs, from housing to healthcare to education, are funded through the census and through federal funds. And so I always tell people, you know, you can't complain about what you don't see in your community. You can't complain about lack of programming and opportunities if you don't make your voice known. And I think outside of voting, we have the census to make sure that we get the amount of funding that we need on a federal level to help fund some of those programs.
So what kind of things are you proposing? I know you have a proposal you've submitted. You do the Occupy Detroit, that population. There's not really millennials. They're Gen Xers, I guess.
Millennials too.
Okay, all right. Well, yeah, I know you tracked a little upper end. So, I mean, what are you doing to mobilize those folks, both in terms of the census and, you know, their participation?
My main thing is to reach people where they are. And so we start high level and we go low level. If that's door to door, knocking on people's door, bringing them information, and then making it resonate with them, however, you know, in their environment and the way they view things. And so what does it mean to fill out the census? How is it going to affect me? So we have to educate them. Well, if you fill out the census, this is going to be additional dollars to help with educational programming, to help with, you know, youth development, you know, for your child, whatever it may be. You have to connect the dots for people and reach people where they are.
Do you share with them, there's only been one time where that confidentiality has been breached? I'm not sure you're aware of it, but it happened during World War II with, you know, people who felt the Japanese population may be enemies or whatever, so they went through census data. But that can't be looked at for 80 years. I run into a lot of people still who have a lot of questions about whether or not they want to share that information. Yeah, but it is confidential. Right. And it does affect your budget. Let's talk about the budget, then we're going to end on COVID-19. And this is me speaking. This is not the president pro tem. I'm not trying to make this show too political, but I just find it very hard that in a month and a half, we could get into $350 million worth of debt. My own personal take was that it's a Trojan horse. This is a great opportunity for me to bundle this debt that maybe I have accumulated or I have caused and put it out there during the pandemic, and maybe people won't question for whence it's come. How do you get $350 million in debt in 6 weeks?
So, I agree that we need more transparency on where the money is going and where it went. But this current fiscal year, they're only projecting $148 million, right, which will end July.
And you have a rainy day fund of about 150?
Right. Okay. Yeah, right. Okay. So we'll be able to, but it's next fiscal year that starts July 1, where they're saying it'd be about $200 million in deficit. Right. So you add this fiscal year and that.
So the 150 that we're in now for this year,
correct,
has nothing whatsoever to do with the pandemic. The 200.
No. This current fiscal year that we're in now, they're projecting a $148 million shortfall.
But as a result of the pandemic?
Of a result of the pandemic, yes.
How does that cause
because
that?
The huge amount is through the casino wagering tax.
Okay.
Yeah, that we get every month, essentially.
Right. And you won't make that money back up because the casinos are closed.
Well, we don't know when they're going to open up. Right, so it's a shortfall in this current budget. So, but I agree, we had some discussion today about it, and I just left a budget hearing to figure out we need more transparency in general. These are projections as well, too, and so it can always change, but definitely want to see more
I'm a firm believer that it's our money spending on us. You mentioned generational residents. I have the Detroit Generational Council, and that is that, we need to help folks who never left. We do a lot for folks who come back. That's a different issue. Let's talk about COVID-19. I've been tested positive for that. I'm doing testing at my center, the Sheffield Center. Hopefully we'll have some more testing done. We're working on the antibody test to have here as well. What's your take on COVID-19 and what needs to be done and the city's response to that?
I mean, for the most part, I've been proud of our city and our response, to be honest with you. I think, with the 15-minute testing that we have, with the State Fairground testing site, I still want to see more testing in the neighborhood. I'm so glad to see that you're going to have a site here to test individuals. But the main thing is just educating people. I mean, Black people are, of course, disproportionately impacted by the COVID-19 virus. And so we need to make sure we're educating one another on it and get as much testing out as we can and continue to serve and get educated.
Well, a lot of misinformation because I didn't have a fever. I read today they're now saying there's about 5 or 6 new things that people need to look at to determine whether or not you have it. I'm going to be honest with you, that stimulus check may drive people out in the streets and expose them further, and then opening up certain areas and then not opening others. So what have you done? Have you done anything? I know you did a video. We're going to show it on our show here.
I mean, the main thing we've done is just outreach. We've been going to senior buildings, dropping off baskets, toiletries. We drove around to some shelters and make sure people have just the things that they need to sustain them during this time. We've been doing a lot of prayer, lifting people's spirits up as well, too, and just really directing people and, like you said, properly educating people on symptoms and where to get treated during this time.
Sure. So now I want you to give your information out again. I liken Mary to being a wedge between passing the buck and red tape. When she got elected for office, one of the things that I said to her that I know about politicians, I had a conversation today from a guy from Minnesota who knew Hubert Humphrey. My dad was very close to Hubert Humphrey. I was downtown when he was running for president in front of Hudson's. There were thousands of people there. And Hubert Humphrey walked over and made a beeline to me on Woodward Avenue and said, "Hi, Skip." And I said, Vice President Humphrey, how are you? He says, "Well, how's your mother, Mary, and how's your dad, Horace?" I mean, it just left such an impression. And the guy I was talking to told me that that's such a powerful thing about politicians. So I only say that to say this, that, with all that you do, with all that I do, if it doesn't make a difference for people, changing lives, and so that's why I say you're a wedge between passing the buck and red tape. If you need something done, certainly call my daughter. I do. And I'm grateful to say that her staff responds. She'll respond. You know, sometimes she's busy, but she says, what do you want, Dad? So give out the information for how people can reach you.
So you can contact my office at 313-224-4505. That's 313-224-4505.
I only have a couple minutes left, so do me a favor. Do 2 messages, one about COVID-19, why people ought to be staying home and staying safe, and then encouraging people to respond to the census.
All right. So, hello, Detroit. This is Council President Pro Tem Mary Sheffield, and I just want to encourage everyone to please stay home, to adhere to the executive orders that are put forth from our governor and the administration from the presidential level, and just to make sure that we continue to save lives by staying home, to make sure if you have any symptoms to please call our health department. We have a 24-hour hotline that we can direct you to resources if you are in need. And you can always contact my office at 313-224-4505 if you have any questions regarding resources or testing. My office will help facilitate.
Yep, her office will help you do just about anything except not pay your taxes. I mean, those are necessary things for you to do. You've heard about the shortfall. I had Eric Sabri on the show. They pay delinquent taxes to the city, but the current revenue collected from taxes, the city needs those. So if you're in a position to pay those taxes, please pay those taxes because we want to keep the lights on. I want to send a special shout out to Chief Craig and Deputy Chief Bettison for assisting us with handling traffic for the food distribution and for the testing that we're going to be doing for COVID-19. We're going to let you know more about that later, what the dates are, when you can come. Right now we're doing food 6 days a week from 10 to 12. Please come to the Sheffield Center. We're doing what we're supposed to do, and that's being all things to all people according to the need. See you next time.
Hello, Detroit. I am City Council President Pro Tem Mary Sheffield. And I want all of you all to know that during these very difficult times, my heart, my prayer, and my thoughts are with you all. I want to extend my condolences to anyone who has lost a family member, a friend, or a loved one to COVID-19. I also want to encourage and motivate and uplift individuals that are battling with this virus, who have symptoms, to let you know that there is a community of people here that are pulling for your full and speedy recovery. I believe that this virus and these challenging times have let us know that all of our destinies are infinitely tied together, and that it takes each and every one of us to pull through this and make it to the other side. These trying times have also taught us that we live in the midst of real life heroes, people who deserve our respect, our gratitude, and most importantly, our support. Individuals like our first responders, our healthcare professionals, our bus drivers, our grocery store employees. Our prayers and thoughts are with you.